Hello there!
General Kenobi!
Welcome to It Starts With Star Wars. We are Joe, James, and
Hello.
Nick. Well, we'll be talking... Hello. We'll be talking about all Star Wars and other science fiction. Then we'll see where the Force takes us. Today's episode is about the Today's episode is about the Today's episode is about the Confederacy of Independent Systems, also known as the CIS. But first, versus General Grievous versus Darth Maul. What do we think, boys?
This is quite complicated, but I just want to say with that intro, we got the most dyslexic person I know to read out the Confederacy of Independent Systems. I swear I didn't do that on purpose.
It's a bit of a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast.
That's why you say CIS. It's why
Confederacy of Independence. That's fucking hard to say. To be fair, to be fair, I have that with very particular words. Sorry, we're going way off topic already.
Right off the bat, immediately.
One
of my favourite bands, Bullet for My Valentine. I really struggle when F's and M's are quite close to each other. So like, Bullet for My Valentine is just Bullet for Valentine. I can't get the M out. Bullet for Valentine. Anyway, General Grievous versus Maul. So you've got General Grievous from Revenge of the Sith, and then you've got Darth Maul from specifically the Phantom Menace. So I assume just when he takes out Qui-Gon Jinn when he's fighting Obi-Wan, that level of Darth Maul. Are we agreeing on that?
I think so.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think? I mean, Rebels one's quite powerful too, but he's missing his legs, so I'd say Phantom Menace makes sense.
Yeah. I agree. Okay.
Is that what is the peak? Is that the peak? Because it's definitely not peak intelligence, that's for sure.
No, I think peak battle experience is probably the Clone Wars. I think in Rebels he knows he's lost. I think Rebels, all he cares about is revenge on Kenobi. He doesn't care about an empire anymore. He's given up on all that, I believe.
Why don't we try? Why don't we say Clone Wars, and that way we've got robot legs versus robot legs.
Yeah. Let's do it. Okay. We're saying the Clone Wars Darth Maul versus General Grievous. They're both doomed to fail. They're both characters that are just doomed to fail, but you got to bear in mind what each one of them are. Darth Maul is a powerhouse who is just angry all the time, and that goes against him. And then General Grievous, although he is things like multiple arms, the element of surprise, and just shock, he is also a coward. And something else you have to bear in mind about General Grievous is that he lost to Ventress until his droid started gunning her down, because she was about to basically slice him up. But he also has this thing that I don't think people talk about this enough. He has the ability to effectively learn his opponent's moves and use his opponent's moves against him, or use someone else's moves that could counteract that. It's very similar to, in Captain America Civil War, when Captain America is pummeling on Iron Man, and the AI in Tony's suit is basically says, analyzes fight patterns, and then he's like, let's kick his ass. That's effectively what General Grievous can do to Jedi, which is why no one ever allowed him to go up against Mace Windu. Mace Windu was never allowed to go and fight General Grievous, even though he did in the 2003 Clone Wars, because it was a last resort.
So he's literally not allowed to.
Yes, so Yoda said to Mace, like, we don't want you because of the style of lightsaber form that you developed yourself, because Mace Windu uses a lightsaber form which is a variant of Form 7, which I don't know if you remember, but that's the dark side form from that we talked about in our... Was it our third episode?
Lightsaber form video.
Or was it our second episode?
It might have been episode what?
No, episode one was lightsaber colours. So Mace Windu has this lightsaber form called Vapad, which is a variant of...
Oh, I actually got it right. I don't know if you heard me. I said that.
It is Vapad, but Vapad is a variant, a sort of light side-ish variant of Form 7, which I think is called Juyo. Yeah, you've got it.
Knowledge, brain expand. Many wrinkles.
Yes, because Form 7 is basically uses dark side energy. It uses all your anger and all your effectively dark to basically just use blistering rage against your opponent without unbalance, if that makes sense. And basically, Windu developed a form that throws his opponent's dark side back at him. And if General Grievous is able to learn that, because he's technically not a Force user, but I'm sure there's a way that in his cybernetics, because he does have experience of all 7 lightsaber forms because it's imprinted into him, I imagine. Not very well. Let's be honest, because he loses quite a lot. But Yoda didn't want Grievous learning that. And the thing is, Darth Maul uses Form 7, so I think Grievous would. It's so difficult. I think this one is one that I don't know how to answer. I've always had an answer for all of them so far, whether it was Luke versus Anakin or Starkiller versus Ahsoka or Rex versus Django. This one I genuinely don't have an answer for because they're both so shit at ending duels. Like they're
it's just forever. They're just fighting forever.
They're just fighting, running away. Wait, the other guy's running away, running back again.
Shall I make it harder for you? What if I said the animated Clone Wars? So not,
that makes it easier. You mean the animated 2003? Yeah. Grievous. Grievous straight away takes that. Grievous went against 6 Jedi and won. Maul doesn't stand a chance. If we're talking about the Clone Wars Maul against 2003 General Grievous, that makes it so much easier.
Were they any Jedi of note, though? What was one of them, County Mundi, or just the same race? Yeah.
County Mundi had his ass wiped.
Yeah.
But he also had Shaq T as well, and he had Shaggy Jedi as well.
If we're talking Maul end of Clone Wars, when he like literally walked through a Star Destroyer, crushing it with his mind, couldn't he just crush the heart and just be like...
Yeah, at least my thinking, my unknowledgeable, I don't know anything. The fact that we're talking about Clone Wars Darth Maul changes everything in my mind. I feel like if we went Phantom Menace Darth Maul, I feel like Grievous would have him no problem. However, Clone Wars, because he's still got a lot of that strength, he's still now got that intelligence. I feel like Grievous is kind of done for now. But if it was Phantom Menace, Darth Maul, I think it would change the story.
Really?
Yeah, because Phantom Menace, not Darth Maul, lost to someone who had literally the low ground, and it was just like, ha ha ha, I've won. Wait, what? Stab.
Well, technically, Maul beat both of them, but he toyed with Obi-Wan for a little bit. Like, I could just force push him down, and I've won. But I want to toy. I'm enjoying this. I've won this battle now, which he technically could have if he wasn't such a dick. And I think that's his downfall. He doesn't. His arrogance kind of gets the better of him. And I think General Grievous has overconfidence, but I think Maul in the Clone Wars especially has confidence. He's confident in his abilities. We see him beat Savage, who is just a powerhouse of strength, quite quickly. So I think if we're talking about Clone Wars Maul, I think he does win the fight. However, can he finish the fight? That's my take on it. So I do think Maul wins the fight.
Okay.
Yeah, like what James said with Ahsoka versus Starkiller. James thinks Ahsoka, you're wrong, but Ahsoka would get away.
So what you're telling me is that he wouldn't finish the fight.
Reference. Yeah, I think. Sorry,
I just felt like that's
all right. You have to do it when you've got that available. You got it, haven't you?
I got to use it once in a while.
Sorry, I realise I've been talking a lot during this. I think Maul would win, but Grievous would get away.
Okay, interesting.
That's just the same thing I said about Ahsoka and Starkiller.
I literally just made that. I literally just said that.
I know, but I'm just like, you're stealing my words, word for word, man. I thought you would at least take my homework and change the words a little bit, man.
I did do that. I referenced your work. I said it previously. I referenced your work here.
Copyright your material, James. What if, Clone Wars Maul versus 2003 Clone Wars Grievous?
I think Grievous takes it. I think that Legends General Grievous, he is
built different.
He is built different.
Well, he's definitely not a coward. Here's a question that that's always confused me about Legends Grievous. It's the fact that he is so not that by the time we see him in Revenge of the Sith. Like, he is a coward in Revenge of the Sith.
Why do you think it was Red?
Yeah.
He's like,
that's the thing.
Well, 2003 Clone Wars is the first appearance, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is that
there's a video on YouTube somewhere. I don't know who said this, but somewhere. I have no evidence to back this up. This is just a rumor that I heard that the description of General Grievous was given to the guys animating the Clone Wars in 2003. That of this character that was going to make a debut. Well, sorry, appear in Episode 3 as the henchman, if that makes sense.
Right.
And they're like, wow, this is really cool. We can do so much with this in animation. And then they release, and George Lucas was like, oh, no, actually, he's a coward. He's actually really not very good.
And he's got asthma.
we did find out about the asthma. And that was Mace Windu at the very end of it, crushing his chest in.
So literally... What we're saying is that Maul could just crush his chest in.
Yeah, but is Maul intelligent enough to do that, and will he actually do it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's Clone Wars Maul, yes. If it's Phantom Menace Maul, yeah, he just loses because he'll be like, ha ha ha, I've won. Ah!
Well, Clone Wars Maul, I still think toys with him a little bit. Like, let's not forget all his fights with Obi-Wan.
No, but he wants vengeance. Like he really wants Obi-Wan. If we're talking about like the end of the Clone Wars, after he's escaped the ship and he's forming his own criminal empire, Maul, like he is calculating by that point. He has stopped being I'm brute force. Like, with his age, he's like, I'm going to think about my actions, and he would really really think about it. So I honestly think that Maul would take it just from pure. And I do agree with you, back to my original point before about Ahsoka. Yes, Grievous, I think, would get away, but he would definitely get away with the...
I think you're half right. I think you're half right. I think when it matters, for example, when he's going up against Pre Vizsla, I think he's like, I need to beat this guy. Let's just get the job done. However, still, when he's going up against Jedi, like Ahsoka, like Obi-Wan, I still feel like he's not ready to get it done. And I don't think he gets to that point until it gets to Rebels. So if we're talking about but the thing is, I think he's less powerful in Rebels because he's lost everything. He doesn't care anymore.
No, yeah, 100%.
Darth Maul in Rebels is he's just like sitting on the sofa with a beer in his hand. He's like a bit
just
fat and chubby now. Yeah.
Kenobi!
I don't think that's like beer in your hand vibe, James.
Well,
Kenobi.
Kenobi. Just it is his image on the screen.
When I was at college, man, before I met Kenobi, everything was fine.
He just looks at a framed picture of Kenobi with a single tear rolls down.
Yeah. So, are we saying Maul takes this? Clone Wars Maul takes it.
Yeah, Clone Wars Maul.
Yeah, I think he wins the fight.
I
don't think he finishes the job.
I do think, however, from what we were talking about, 2003 General Grievous I feel like he is the benchmark for, is your character like insanely powerful?
Yeah.
If it's above Clone Wars General Grievous, then your character is like insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think in Rebels they really missed a trick because I know they had to do the Ezra versus Darth Vader again, and then the Ahsoka versus Darth Vader. That was something they had to do in that episode of Rebels, right?
Yeah.
But I really, really feel that we missed out on some 20-year nostalgia. Well, when did it come out? 2016, 2017? So maybe 15.
Darth Maul versus Darth Vader.
That would have been
good.
so good. That would have been
Yeah.
amazing. I don't have any complaints about that episode. And I feel like it would have been just a little bit much because there was so much peak Star Wars content in that episode. It might have ever tipped it to be like, this is a little bit silly now. But at the same time, come on. Like, it especially if Maul knows that it's Anakin Skywalker. Because we know in the season 7 of... Is it season 7 of the Clone Wars? Or is it season 6? Season 7... Blah, blah, blah. Season 7 of the Clone Wars, we know that that Maul knows Anakin is going to be the next apprentice because of his vision.
That's 7.
Yeah,
That's season 7.
So we know that's why he's trying to lure Anakin to Mandalore, and Ahsoka went instead. So so we know that he knows Vader's Anakin. Does that mean that Maul knows that little boy running on Tatooine that he was about to gun down on his speeder, does he know that then grew up to be the darkest Sith apprentice to Palpatine? Like, does he know that? And if he did, how would the conversation go?
Do you think that, instead of a picture of Kenobi, he's actually got a picture of his speeder bike and he's got a deal with a picture of him in front of Anakin, like, who's chasing him down? He's like,
sorry, I didn't mean to run over you.
If only I hadn't missed him. Oh.
That's funny.
So that actually is an interesting point there that you brought up there, because Hayden Christensen is working. Is this a rumor? I don't know if it's confirmed, but there's some talks about a Darth Vader show. Is that confirmed or not?
If it's confirmed, I don't know. I know he's working on Ahsoka season 2 at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing something. It'd just be really cool if we got some like mention of Maul.
It would be really good, cool. Actually, wouldn't it? If there was
at some point, I do hope that we get an answer to Darth Maul versus Darth Vader. I think that is something.
I mean, are they ever going to pick up anything from Solo, like with Darth Maul? With that, is that ever going to materialize into anything?
I hope so, because that was such a good plot point.
It was amazing. The only thing that flawed that film was the fact that it came out 6 months after The Last Jedi, the film that kind of started ruining everything. I mean, I didn't like the first sequel. That's only because it was literally just a remake of The New Hope, but it wasn't a bad film. It still worked.
Can you imagine if Solo came out before?
It would be seen as a good film.
Split the fan.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have split the fan.
I mean, I'm sure I've probably mentioned this in maybe a previous podcast or a stream or something. Solo is the best Disney Star Wars film. I know everyone loves Rogue One. I think Solo's better.
Hot take.
Like, that is a hot take. Sound the alarm.
Wait, can I do that on Discord? Hang on.
Maybe. Rogue One is it's so much. Oh my god, you can! I didn't know you could do that. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Rogue One is Rogue One is so much it's like fan service. It's like 80% fan service, and I'm not against that. Stop this. It's like 80% fan service, and although I love it, everyone loves it. I do think Solo stands on its own 2 feet a lot more.
That wouldn't even matter.
A bad take, I guess. Apparently,
no. I think Han Solo does more fan service than Rogue One. I think because it's based around completely new characters because they all die at the end. There's obviously references to other ones. Like there's obviously reference to Tarkin. There's reference to Darth Vader. There's references to the Death Star. And then at the end, you got Leia as well. I think that's it. Like,
it's more the fact that, like, kind of, again, I'm not complaining about any of this, but like the showing of epic space battles. Is it Gold Squadron, Gold Leader, and stuff like that? Yeah. But the fact that it's like so obviously it takes place like literally like minutes before the start of A New Hope.
Yeah.
So, it leads directly into that, but it's kind of intertwined. Like you can't separate it. Whereas at least Solo, this is the very beginning of Han Solo's kind of smuggling career, and you've got some time distance. Don't get me wrong. There's absolute fan service in it for sure. I mean, hell, Lando being in it to begin with is
Darth
like
Maul as well.
Falcon's in it.
Yeah,
Chewie's in it.
But I feel like the story.
Every time someone mentions Chewbacca, I'm just like, what a fucking cool character. Anyway, Joe, carry on.
I was just going to say the story specifically stands on its own 2 feet, whereas with Rogue One, it follows directly into New Hope.
No, I do agree with that. I like Solo. I think
it's a great film.
I love the fact that I love the AI, becoming the the droid downloading itself into Millennium Falcon, basically confirming Millennium Falcon actually has a consciousness. Which I think is really cool.
I would like them to bring that up at some point, maybe in the future. I don't know when or how they do that, but
I would love to see a sequel to Solo, because I think Solo deserved it. It just didn't get the ratings it should have.
No.
Obviously, people had sort of lost faith in Disney at that point, which is a shame because that movie is good. And I think that comes down to the point of, people sort of have a habit of sort of losing faith in something and then sort of, just throwing it out the window. I don't
think it was the biggest bomb either. I don't know how much it cost to make. I can't imagine it was more than 200 million. And if it was, what the fuck are you doing,
see how
Disney?
It did it. So let's see, Solo.
I think it made 400 and something million, but I do believe it was profitable. Maybe not by much, but it definitely made money.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Okay. So Solo, a Star Wars story, grossed 392.9 million worldwide, making it the lowest gross Star Wars movie of the Disney's 5. It also lost money.
Really?
Yes.
That will be because of the film that came out 6 months before it.
Yeah, which is a shame. Literally, it just came out at the wrong time. It just came out. This is going to be off topic though. It comes back to Nick. Nick said something about Chewie earlier. I saw a clip from an interview on Jim Will Fix It. Where
hang on, wait. Do we need to bring up this? James, do we want this on our podcast?
No, let me tell you what happened. It's really funny. You can...
okay. Come on, let's hear about Jimmy Savile.
So Chewie is on the show and he does his sound and the little kid says he senses a dark presence, and Jimmy Savile says, "Oh, really? A dark presence?" And then the clip on the meme was just like, "Even freaking Chewie knew."
Oh, that is fucking funny. That is foreshadowing, subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah, I know, right? In real life, what?
Right. Oh Christ.
But yes.
On that note, we should probably go to the main event. Maybe.
Oh God, that was a long half hour.
It's main event time! Yay!
Okay, so today we are going through the formation of the CIS, also known as James.
The Confederacy of Independent Systems.
Nice. Nailed it. First try.
Got it. So this takes quite a bit of context because you got to go through the political side of things as well. And most of where I'm getting information from is actually a Instagram person who explained this better than anybody. So I got this all from him. His name is Pat Manzi.
Pat Manzi.
Pat Manzi. Pat. We're getting this made of him, so shout out to you, Mandy. Pat thing. Manzi Pat. You're sick, and thank you for explaining this in simple terms for us people who have no idea what we're talking about. So, this all starts with the context of the Phantom Menace. This is all stuff that leads up to the Phantom Menace, right? So, we've got the core worlds and the outer rim. So those are the two main sections. There are 3 sections. We're only going to focus on 2. You don't need to know about the third one for now. So core worlds and the outer rim, the main 2 bits of the galaxies. You can think of these 2 sections as the first worlds and second and third worlds. So you've got first world, you've got UK, you've got USA, and Europe, and all of that. And then you've got resource high places like Africa, South America, India, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, that's how you can kind of use. And this is also because there's so much of this in this build up that relates to real world kind of politics. That goes to show how intelligent and good a story writer that George Lucas is. Because everyone says, "Oh, it's all sci-fi, it's all made up." No, it's fucking not. It's based on real stuff.
Is this the way you phrased it with relating it to real world countries? Is this like you're doing, or is this Matt? Whatever is Matt?
No, this was Pat. These are kind of Pat's word. Pat's words here that I've kind of put into my own. So. He's the one who explained it into Baby Talk that I've then just repeated the Baby Talk. I've done a little bit into my own, so a lot of the bullet points down here are my own way of saying things so that I can just kind of make sense in my brain, because some of it is just stuff that I do not understand. Yeah, so the core worlds are the ones that seem to be in control of everything, but get all their resources from the Outer Rim worlds, basically. So, and in return, the Outer Rim leaders get like luxury goods, basically, because we all know in the Outer Rim you got like slavery and shit. Woo! Okay, moving on. So, the Republic used to tax the trade zones happening between the planets. And why there wasn't really much trade happening before. But then they introduced the tax-free trading zones. Enter, guess who?
The Trade
Federation, a.k.a. Viceroy. Newt Gunray. The Trade Federation is basically a shipping company. So they transport goods in and out of the Outer Rim. And it also allows them to do it tax-free. So they have a lot of ships. They have a lot of starships that are basically just huge shipping containers. And that's what those big round ones with the little Death Stars in are.
I have a question.
Go on.
How long before the Phantom Menace, do you know, would this have kind of started around?
I believe it would have been... I actually don't know the answer. I'm going to put it as an estimate, as in sometime after Palpatine was able to manipulate it, because a lot of this is to do with Palpatine. So
wait,
okay.
I'm confused, because we know from Acolyte that the Trade Federation was active 100 years prior to this.
Yeah. Well, the Acolyte is shit, so we don't count.
Also, yeah.
I know, but the Acolyte is also canon.
No! No!
It is! It is canon! Yes, it is! But to be fair, the Trade Federation operating for 100 years doesn't change the outcome of this thing. It's just means that,
you know... It could have been like a smaller entity, maybe not the full-fledged Trade Federation that we know
Newt
of.
Gunray trying to get power and working with Palpatine would probably be what started this.
Yeah,
so
but also, sorry, Newt Gunray, like, was he there for the beginning, for the start, or was he?
No,
he was voted in,
I
guess, in some way.
Yeah, so I half suspect that Palpatine got his offered his family
it
money
goes into Palpatine in a second.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't just make assumptions with this, James, because it's very complicated with how it all works, and I don't understand how it works. It's all fucking political and all that bullshit. So
do you not understand politics, Nick? I
haven't got a clue, mate. Honestly, I didn't even know about what happened the other day with Trump and what's his face until like this morning.
Oh God, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, let's not talk about politics. Not Nick. What have you done?
So
you made me sad.
So right, okay. So Trade Federation, they're effectively the Space East India Trading Company. Thank you once again, Pat, for putting it in. So from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, from real life.
For real life, yes, but I know about them through Pirates of the Caribbean, because Pirates of the Caribbean is obviously law accurate.
Yeah, it's definitely historically accurate.
So the Republic hits them with a no monopoly in space trade. That's illegal. And then they're like, nah, mate, we need pay. So they start doing all the trade in 98 of the space that isn't controlled by the Republic. So, for for example, the huts.
Yeah.
So that's how they do all their trading. They start doing it through the hut so they can just avoid taxes.
Wow.
And then and they're annoyed at this. The fact the Republic are charging them so much. And the Sith, aka Plagueis, are like, oh no, baby, what's happening, baby? Let's sort you out, baby. And so then they get in talks to the banking clans. They can start, and that's how a lot of the money that they earn can then be kind of accountanted and stuff to make it look like they're not doing anything wrong, when in fact they are just tax evading billionaires, like modern society,
like real life.
Yeah.
Never heard that one before. The Sith, aka Plagueis, funds a terrorist organization because Plagueis is a big part of the banking clan. He's effectively the competent version of Sandhill, and funds the terrorist organization to attack the Trade Federation. So to give them an excuse to basically build up an army. So they could have an army of droids, because an army of people would be illegal. The Republic will say no to this, I think. So Sidious enters the equation as Palpatine, who is kind of a senator at this point. And Sidious enters as Sidious, not as Palpatine, and approaches an official called Newt Gunray. Now, Newt Gunray is a greedy little bastard. Just because you're offering loads of money, of course I'll do loads of deals for you, and does literally everything that Sidious tells him to do. So,
sorry, I don't want to keep stopping your
including dodgy deals. Carry on, Joe.
Sidious, like, who was he kind of presenting himself as? I know you said
Sidious.
like,
so you know how we see him
yeah.
in talking to Newt Gunray in Phantom Menace as the hooded him.
Yeah, but yeah. But as in, like, who does he claim to be?
Sidious.
You know, if some. Oh, so he's just like straight up like, I'm a Sith, I'm evil. Do what I say.
He basically just says not. Well, you can hear in a line the Phantom Menace, like, is that possible? Not for the Sith. So Newt Gunray knows that he's a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the point. Do you think this was part of the plan? Like, did Plagueis say, "Oh, here's my friend Sidious. He's going to deal with you for a bit," or do you think this is Sidious going behind Plagueis's back?
I don't know. So Sidious enters the equation as the Sith, and maybe he didn't. I would assume he wouldn't trust Newt Gunray with everything. And also when Maul enters the equation, that's quite clearly because of that famous meme. That's the first time Newt's seen two Sith at the same time. So I would assume, due to that kind of process elimination, I would assume that Sidious is the only one he's talking to,
right,
and that he knows about.
So did he not know that Plagueis was a Sith? Then that's interesting.
They probably just didn't even know Plagueis existed.
I think when I say Plagueis was going through the Trade Federation, I don't think Newt Gunray was in power at that point. Also, I think Plagueis approached them as not a Sith, but as a banking clan person, because these are money laundering guys, isn't he? That's his whole deal.
Yeah.
So I would again, these are good questions. I'm glad we're talking about stuff like this, because it's actually stuff I've not really thought about. Because when I was writing this out, I had to go to the pub to do it, because I was just like, what the am I writing down? So Newt Gunray does literally everything Sidious says, including dodgy deals. That benefits him, leads to him trusting Sidious. So I assume all the deals that Sidious was getting Viceroy to do benefited Gunray hugely. So that at the end, after like 3 or 4 times of this happening, I assume Gunray just trusted Sidious to have his back and just do this, and you will get lots of money. So I think this is kind of when I think Sidious helped Gunray get in power into the Trade Federation, basically, and that benefits him, which does lead to Sidious's advice of the blockade of Naboo. But we're getting to that later. Okay, so Gunray is on the rise due to the shady deals that are orchestrated by Sidious, and the next bit is a little difficult to explain, so I've just done it in very simple bullet points, and please bear with me on this. I'm an idiot. Sidious is like, hey, Gunray, another shady deal. Transfer this foreign money through these bank accounts so that I've got my mate, who's really my master, I'm not going to tell you that though, can deal with it and help so you get richer.
He sounds like a crypto scammer.
Yeah.
And now you know the truth.
And then, lol, the money is through Plagueis' banking clan accounts. We didn't see that coming. Sidious gets a terrorist organization to rob the Trade Federation. Now, at this point, the Trade Federation have managed to get a seat on the Senate. And it's effectively having someone like Amazon having a seat in the United Nations and then being like, help, one of our packages were robbed.
It's kind of like having the guy in charge of Tesla in charge of the United States of America, right?
Bankrolling all the Republicans. Yes. Oh, let's not talk about that. We don't want to piss people off, but at the same time, what you've said is 100% true.
We're totally neutral.
We are very neutral.
We're like the banking
subject.
clans and the Techno Union during the Clone Wars. We are completely neutral. So, yeah. Chancellor Valorum is like, at this point, the Trade Federation are too powerful even for anyone's own good. At this point, they have a seat in Senate. We're not going to give them an army. So Senator Palpatine is like, who is also Sidious, but as Palpatine here is like, what if we tax the free trade routes and did all that? And I don't know, again, I don't know why this makes sense. Let's tax the free trade routes so even though it made the Trade Federation rich, then they can kind of be accountable or something. I don't know. And then And then,
so they're putting sanctions of the Trade Federation.
I guess so. I don't know why that works, but I don't know.
This is just real life politics.
Honestly, just why are you watching this podcast? Just watch the video that Pat did. It's so much better.
But watch our podcast
first and see how shit we are, so you can see how Pat explains in a minute what we're taking about 2 hours to explain.
Once you watch Pat's thing, you can go watch the news and see this unfolding
and then cry
in real life.
because it's all real.
Anyway, lol, fake assassination attempt on Chancellor Valorum, orchestrated by Palpatine. Basically said to an assassin, kill Chancellor Valorum, but don't kill him. Just make it look like it. And then someone will save him, and you will get away. It's fine.
Is that the when his ship blows up, or I can't remember.
That's Attack of the Clones. That's Attack of the Clones when
okay.
Yeah, no. So I'm assuming it makes it look like it's the Trade Federation that's done this. So Palpatine says to Valorum, we should set up a meeting and see what's going on with the Trade Federation. And then Valorum is like, you have an answer to everything. That's not suspicious.
Yeah.
Palpatine tells a terrorist organization that robbed the Trade Federation. I put that in brackets. Lol, remember when the Trade Federation were robbed? To invest the money into Valorum's leadership. Lol, investment in corruption. Bank accounts went through the ones that Plagueis had control over. It looks like Valorum has had terrorist funding, basically. So it's all although that's not what happened, it's all just Palpatine being a dick. So, yeah.
It's very clever politics.
The King of Naboo sort of sees what's happening with Palpatine being a shady senator and sort of doing all these dealings. So what does Sidious do? Sets up an anonymous and assassination attempt for the... successful. The King of Naboo. Yeah. And by the way, the Jedi are sort of present at the whole situation during the whole murder. I don't know if that's important, but it is, let it happen.
Wow. I don't know. They weren't their best.
The Jedi find the assassin, like, we got you now, cunt, lol.
That's what you think.
That's what you think. Clicks button, and all the clankers which I'm assuming are being used for security, they kill all the Trade Federation officials except guess who? Newt Gunray. So, There's nothing
Now he has more power.
There is nothing leading back to who the assassin hired, basically. Who hired the assassin? So
Wait, so did the Jedi that were there die?
No, the Jedi just. I honestly, I don't know. This is so confusing. Someone help me.
That's fine.
This is so complicated. I don't understand what's happening, but this is why George Lucas is so good. And I don't know.
To be honest, he's just based this off real life.
Yes,
politics.
I know. That's why I don't understand it.
Oh, okay. Study sociology sometime.
No, it's boring. I'd rather watch Star Wars.
Oh, you know what you could
Watch
do
Star
to
Wars.
understand politics? You could watch Star Trek.
I couldn't do that. Nah, it's a bit dull. Even I haven't got the attention span for that. I will. You know how fidgety I get when I'm sitting around for a long period of time. Times that by 10. That's me watching Star Trek, which is fine. It's just not for me.
You like Lower Decks though? That's still Star Trek.
So Newt Gunray's vice now the viceroy of the Trade Federation.
Viceroy.
Palpatine stops funding the terrorists. The funds trace back to Valorum. This looks like corruption. Then the terrorists kind of fizzle into nothing. They just maybe Sidious has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Maybe they just disbanded and just be like, oh, this is too much fucking attention. Let's go away. And basically, the Palpatine is like, I need someone I can manipulate as the ruler of Naboo. I know what I'll do. I'll manipulate the system into electing a naive 14-year-old prodigy. Who do we think that is? Padme.
Wait, I'm confused. Mate. I thought there was a queen before Padme. When we looked it up,
there might.
Because when we did the research for the we have a fan theory that we're working on. So, is there a king and a queen?
I've just got what I've done here and what Thingy said. It's probably like not. I don't know. Yes, maybe it was a queen. Who knows? I don't know. But the person who, because I think it was the queen that we researched for the fan theory we're doing, or the what if we're doing. And then there was a king elected after that. And I think then that queen was going to get elected again, but then Padme got elected instead because of Palpatine. I think.
Right, okay.
I think. Don't quote me to that.
Well, we'll do some research on this. Pinch of salt, everyone.
Baby,
pinch of salt.
Take this all with a pinch of salt.
A fistful of salt.
A fistful of salt, because honestly, I have
just
no
like
idea.
A whole bag of salt.
It'll make a lot more
And chuck
sense
it in
if
it.
you go and watch the other thing. So shout out to Pat! This guy!
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Is that you putting the name in front of you?
Yes.
Or
where's
you
the screen? Is it
That's-
there?
I
Is it
guess
there?
that's-
Is it there? I don't know. Where's the extra bit?
I mean, if you know, I'll have you enlarged, and like if you just do that, then a thing will pop up in the middle of the
Like
screen.
that, yeah? So, Padme is elected. So,
That is kind of, hang on a minute. I know. Sorry, I know you want to continue. It is kind of crazy that this like civilized society, someone with like insane technology is just like, yeah, I want that 14-year-old to lead me. Like
well, the thing is, Palpatine manipulates everything. He makes it look like she knows what she's doing. And to be fair, Padme fucking does.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I suppose the Queen is just a figurehead. Like, you know, you had all the problem is Palpatine sort of has probably corrupted the lower tiers of Naboo society. So,
Essentially.
Yeah.
So they elect their royalty.
yeah.
Well, bizarre. Okay.
So I think it's because they've got a ruler for the world and they've got a senator that represents that world in the Senate.
Oh, okay.
I think that's
and
what
so
happened.
what the queen or king or whatever it is essentially just their representative in the Senate.
No, the queen or the
No,
king
she's
is
got the
who
chart.
deals with everything on the planet. The senator is a representative of the planet on
Oh,
Coruscant.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that, of course, that makes sense because obviously, like
We don't have outer space and shit.
Yeah.
Although we do have countries, though, and each planet is effectively a country. So, Sidious contracts Newt Gunray soon, not too soon after election. She's still an early queen. Well, she's 14. But Sidious contracts Newt Gunray is like, congrats on the promotion, bro. Newt Gunray is like, lol, nope, taxation is killing us. What do we do now, homeboy?
He says it in those exact words.
What do we do now, homeboy? Sorry. Palpatine has an answer. Hey, remember when Palpatine said to Valorum that we should set up a meeting with the Trade Federation because now the Palpatine has sent them to blockade the planet so that they can get their money from trade routes and shit. Again, Pat explains this better. I'm struggling. Please help me.
It's fine. You don't need to. We appreciate the work that he's done.
Yes.
So, remember when Palpatine said to Valorum that we should set up a meeting with the Trade Federation? Send the Jedi. I don't know if he actually says that. I don't know. Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I don't actually think it was Sidious who sent the Jedi. I think it was actually just Valorum working on his own.
It's Valorum sent
because of that line in the Phantom Menace from Sidious, who says the Chancellor should never have brought them into this. Kill them immediately. So, and that's when they try to gas them. But yeah, so I don't think it was actually Sidious who said to Valorum to send the Jedi. I think it was just Valorum thinking, I know who can peacefully handle this.
Jedi.
I mean, you sort of, right?
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
I don't know about peacefully, but they sorted it. They handled it.
That they did.
He was right. The negotiations were short.
Right. Oh my God. That was half an hour of my life.
Okay, Nick, now can you please tell us the entire plot to Phantom Menace, and then we'll move on.
No, I don't want to go and watch the Phantom Menace. It's more interesting than this, and probably will take less time. So, Phantom Menace all happens. We all know what happens there. Maul's dead. Plagueis is dead, etc., etc., etc. Go watch our last podcast for
spoiler alert.
Plagueis died. There you go. So between the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones, it's the formation of the CIS, and the CIS is effectively the Star Wars version of the BRICS nations. So Brazil, Russia,
which are. Oh no! I was literally going to ask you what are the BRICS nations. I'd be impressed if you can remember.
Brazil, Russia. I want to say India. Is it India?
I believe it is India. Yeah.
China.
I can't even remember
What's
the
S?
S. Oh, yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I can.
Can you put me out of my misery, please?
Wait, did you say it, James?
Just say it, Joe.
South Africa. South
Africa, there we go.
To be fair, this whole thing is
politics. It is complex politics. So
I think that's what I like about the Clone Wars. Right,
basically, the CIS are those systems that are tired of the Republic hegemon and want to live and do business as independent systems. So the separatist ideal is actually quite hard to describe, but just because I don't really agree on one, so just bear with me. They don't agree with the Republic's apathy to suffering of sentient life in the galaxy, prioritizing profits over life. The CIS ideal is hard to describe because it isn't one of their... Again, the people below the higher-ups in the CIS are like, yeah, standing up for the little guy, woo! But then you've got the separatist leaders. These are people bankrolling the entire operation.
Yeah.
Tax-dodging business leaders, aka the Techno Union, Trade Federation, banking clans, they're just out to make money. And they're tired of sharing it with the Republic. AKA tax-dodging billionaires keeping 100% of their own profits. And as long as the money keeps, going and keeps, flowing for them and earning, they don't care. They could not care less about what's happening on the places that they're making money from. So you've always done slavery. That's fine. Just carry on. Want to get your poor
money.
neighborhoods into some space crack? Again, that is a quote from Pat. I'm sorry. I'm using all your content. Sure. You want to torture some prisoners? We don't care as long as we get paid. That
is definitely not communism.
No, that's why I'm like,
for sure.
shut up, James. I'm getting to it.
But it seems interesting that, when we see them in Clone... I know you're going to get onto it in a moment, but in Clone Wars, they're very much of a similar to the ideals of a communist idea, like trying to get everyone feel better.
Yeah, but then
Because I know
there's a
that
trade
the
federation,
lower down
the
senators.
union, and the banking clan.
So
Yeah,
the
I mean,
British nations, literally.
Again, I'm sorry for interrupting. I know you want to get on with this. But it is very similar to what is going on at the moment, where it's just rich billionaires controlling the United States government being like, we're out for the little guy, while they're just like, trying to make as much money as possible.
Yep. Just like, I shower in gold now. It's cleaner for you.
I got my... As I dive into my Scrooge McDuck vault of gold coins.
Money. Yeah.
Oh man, it's a dark time for the world right now, isn't it? Anyway, Star
love
Wars.
my life.
You love your life.
Before the dark times, before the Empire.
Yeah, oh god, then this is a time that happened before the end.
Reorganized
Oh my god!
into the first...
This is so accurate for where we are right now. We're going to be in a galactic empire
right,
before long.
It's crazy.
There's a
Have you not
Sith
been
Lord
clicking
controlling
this?
everything.
Well,
Elon Musk is a
yeah,
Sith
okay,
Lord.
well,
Have you not clocked it?
Keep reading, because then we'll see the future of what happens and we can predict.
Thank you, George Lucas.
That's what George Lucas was writing. He was writing on how to take down a republic.
yeah.
It's what happened in Rome and everything.
So, the leaders of the CIS have no morals whatsoever. They're basically the ruler. They do have a ruler. Count Dooku is their ruler. So you have a corrupt aristocrat as a ruler. And then you've got... And the people who are following are tired of the Republic being corrupt. So they unknowingly settle for a different kind of corruption. It's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's dodgy as fuck, bro. But anyway, Count Dooku is one that brought all the sides together, so therefore he is their ruler. But it's not just them. He's also rumped. He's rumped. He's roped in a bunch of criminal organizations like the Hutts. More slavers! Woo!
Yeah, that's what we want more of.
But does he believe in their ideals, though? Because I feel like from Tales
No, it's
of the
probably for
Jedi,
power, I'd
I
imagine.
think he's seeing stuff like the Hutts, technically in the Bank Clank, as a means to an end. He's trying to fund this new operation. He needs shitty to get what he wants, because I don't think Count Dooku is actually... He's definitely a Star Wars villain, but I think his heart his motives are in the right direction, but he just doesn't see it. Doesn't see the pain he's causing, and just only sees the Republic's pain and the Jedi's pain that is being inflicted, but not his own at this point.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? It's going to be completely random. Jurassic Park 3.
The one with the
Joe, you ever seen
Spinosaurus.
Jurassic Park
It's been a long
There's one
time.
Spinosaurus,
Yeah.
There's a quote from that really stands out for me, and it's very relevant here, which is, "Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions."
Yeah, that's pretty deep for Jurassic Park 3. Have you watched it recently? Is that why you remember it?
No, it's just it was my favourite film growing up, so I just always remember that one quote.
Fun fact, I watched The Matrix for the first time today while doing a job application.
Oh, really?
You've never seen The Matrix?
The Matrix is a great film.
It is very good. It is very 90s with the cheesy kind of...
Yeah.
Now we're on to the context Attack of the Clones. The next few bits are quite short because most of the CIS is in the setup and why they are. So, context Attack of the Clones, and this is basically just the lead up to... it's basically, really during the Attack of the Clones, because that is the context the Attack of the Clones, between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. That's what happened, we just talked about. But the the actual film Attack of the Clones, it's like that assassination attempt, or the assassination that triggered the First World War. There was already a lot of shit building up, and these two bombs that were the Republic and the CIS were just ready to explode. And the thing that triggered it was capture Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. Yeah,
captured
Just
one of
like
our
Archduke
own for execution.
Ferdinand. He
He is a war hero. He killed the first Sith in the millennia. We declare war on you, dickheads. So the Republic literally start a war and sacrifice, as Joe has said in the previous podcast, a lot of Jedi to get Kenobi back. Which is
it's the point, okay? We don't leave our own behind. Doesn't matter how many people die in a process.
Jesus Christ.
Because life doesn't matter. There's a Force underworld. They all come back to life down there.
It wasn't actually what happened. It was an accumulation of different events and things. But it's funny that Geonosis is the trigger point. But yeah. I imagine it was more to do with Padme being a Republic senator that they were going to execute. But she went because of Obi-Wan.
That was the main thing. Yeah.
And now we've got the Clone Wars Revenge of the Sith. There isn't even really much context here. There's the CIS of one ideal, the Republic who think there's nothing wrong with them, but they are corrupt as well. And basically, you've got Sidious, Palpatine, same person, manipulating both sides of the war to eventually become all together and build a galactic empire, powerful one empire to rule them all. And
a new world order.
The Republic shall be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
You know what? I actually think Vladimir Putin is the closest to Palpatine right now because he's manipulating. I feel like, oh, fuck it. You know what? I don't know. I'm not going to talk about Vlad and Trump. It's fine.
He just said the names. He said it. Woo!
Woo! Not the wrong kind of siren, but
red flags. But here we go. Yes, the Sith manipulates things from both sides, as Palpatine is the head of both. Chaos ensues.
Ensues.
I'm sorry, lad. I've had 2 beers. Leave me alone.
Surely, because you were writing this at the pub, you were probably
I was about 4 pints deep at this point. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. So Sith manipulate both, and then the Galactic Empire. LOL dictatorship is created. It's formed from both, and all systems are basically forced to participate, as we see in the Bad Batch. So, yeah, it's a disgusting turn of events that go into like an all-out galactic rule, and I feel like that's next in store for our world.
Yep,
that's historically what happened in World War II with the burning of the Reichstag building, and I mean, literally, George Lucas the CIS formation is just World War II. Leading up to everything that's the prequels is what happened in leading up to the Second World War. Unfortunately for us, for some reason, people didn't read the history books.
And it's happening again. There we go.
Woo!
Choo-choo! What a great time to be a fighting-age male.
Oh, no.
I hope you guys are going to enjoy military training.
I'm going to be honest. I think me and Joe, we would definitely die, but I think we'd outlast you, James.
Oof.
Well,
I just think you're too nice. I think you'll be like, you'll be that Andrew Garfield character. You'll be the Andrew Garfield character in that war film.
From Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah. Jokes on you guys. I can't legally serve because I have a flat foot, and you're not allowed to be a soldier with flat feet.
That's until they
see what I mean? We would last in the war longer. Yeah. We'd at least get conscripted.
You guys would have to go first, and I'd probably die on the first day still. But I'd do like 3 years later.
There we go. So, I want to quickly talk about an EU reasoning onto, because that was a lot of Palpatine pulling strings. There is a reason why, in the expanded universe, there is a theory, not a reason, as to why Palpatine did what he did. And we've already touched on these guys before, but I'll just put one bullet point, and that's the Yuxin Vong. So, he could have had a vision towards the early start of his Sith career of a huge force that would basically take down the entire galaxy and come from all sides from different galaxies into the Star Wars galaxy. And so I think there is a theory that the reason for the formation of the Galactic Empire and its such heavy focus on its military was so that they could outnumber the Yuxin Vong basically and just take them down. That's a theory. It's quite cool, but you've already said it's something else, isn't it? It's a plot or something.
It's lots of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I mean, that would have been kind of cool for like an angle that the sequels could have taken, where if they are going to bring Palpatine back or whatever, they should have.
That would have been a good reason as well.
Almost try to like justify it and be like, my intentions, like, weren't
noble.
Necessarily. Yeah,
I know I lost myself to the dark side, but there was a good fucking reason for it.
Yeah. I think that would have actually been quite an interesting.
It would have been very interesting. It would have been one of those things where it completely changes your perspective on a character. Like someone with how can someone be so violently evil and disgusting, like revoltingly evil to that level?
What's the phrase? Is it something about power absolutely and absolute power?
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah,
that's the phrase you're looking for there. I think the problem is, as much as the Uzong Vong theory is really cool, and it adds plot weight, as we're seeing from the real world right now, there are just evil people. The Putin being trained by the KGB to be a spy and then becoming leader of a country, and then pulling strings from behind the world. Then you've got America voting in a burger. You've got China which is doing its own thing in the background. You've got India. You've got all these countries, and every country is doing some dodgy shit.
It's a horrible thing to say, but while you were talking about all that, James, it's so depressing that's happening in the real world. I just kind of switched off. It's just something I don't want to think about.
Honestly, I genuinely think it's the better way to live. The news, if you just constantly look at the news, because it's always, for the most part, focusing on negative shit. If you just kind of ignore it, then
you're not negative.
You're not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it, like from your like last bullet point, I don't know if you guys wanted to move on or if you wanted to speak more on the whole Yuzon Vong.
No, carry on. That's the point I put there. I just like open discussion.
Yeah.
That's why it's only looked literally at Yuzon Vong.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that like. I mean, it is a form of escapism, even though it's a bit of a backwards form of escapism. Learning about the Star Wars galaxy, because it is quite literally we're just living it now. But like, I do find it very interesting to why people love to learn about fiction and stories rather than the real world, because like
that was going to be my next point.
That's what that's what I was kind of meaning, because I didn't want to like I wanted to make sure you were done talking about Yuzon Vong. But yeah, it's just like why do we love learning about fantasy and not history? Because by all means, history is the same thing. It's just actually real, and you can maybe get somewhere with it. You could become a history teacher. I don't know. You could become a historian. Someone who works at a museum. I don't know.
We're just sitting here on a YouTube video discussing something that doesn't actually matter because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to be fair, like Game of Thrones, for example, is just British history, and he's changed the names. It literally is word for word British history.
Yes, we had dragons.
The only because in some of the historical things, there was adding myths of dragons in British history. Like
is it War of the Roses, right? Is it?
Yeah, War of the Roses.
Yeah,
that's what happens. So there are, obviously we didn't really have dragons, Nick, but it was
I know it's all
like names
metaphors
of
and turning it into fantasy.
Yeah.
Until we find the dragon bones.
Well, we've got loads of dinosaur bones.
Well, that's actually like there's a theory somewhere, because dragons have been a part of so many different kinds of cultures. Like we had dragons in our mythology. China and Asian countries had dragons in their mythology.
Wales has got one on its flag.
Yeah, I know. Like maybe it's just we found loads of dinosaur bones and thought they were dragons. So
100%. I mean, I've always said that dragons are just dinosaur fossils, because the amount of fossils that a kid found a whole T-Rex skeleton just walking through Nevada.
What? Oh my god!
Yeah. It was a story from I think 2 months ago. I read it last week, but it was from 2 months ago. And he found a whole T-Rex skeleton just walking through Nevada, just through the desert. Just
the skeleton was walking through Nevada.
That's what it sounded like to me as well. I was like, what?
The kid was walking through the desert, and he sat down, and it turned out to be a T-Rex skeleton.
But
so
damn.
That's pretty cool. And that kid was just like, I'm so lucky. It's like, yeah, you freaking are, because it's
Yeah.
you bastard.
That's mad. Right, should we move on to something a little bit more lighthearted now?
Yeah.
Yay!
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Well, maybe. Who knows? We're working on a what if for you guys right now. Do we want to reveal the name of that what if right now, James? Do we want to do that?
Yeah, why not? So there's a theory that some people have, which is that Padme was also Force sensitive, which is why there was this attraction between Padme and Anakin. So we decided to go into that a little bit and write what if Padme was trained as a Jedi? So in the context of our fan theory, she actually is stronger in the Force than she is in the movies, or taking from Rebels' idea that everyone can use the Force if you're trained, you can use it. Because obviously Sabine isn't really Force sensitive, but then she
has
it's a little bit
Force sensitivity that's between like Obi-Wan and Han Solo.
Exactly. So we're sort of working on Padme having that sort of level of Force sensitivity as well. And we're going to see what happens and how does the Star Wars universe change if Padme isn't on Naboo for the key events that we've just touched upon. So we're gonna see how that goes. It's quite interesting. I was talking to Sarah actually on this, Nick, because obviously you're giving us a dedeline of tomorrow.
I didn't know. I gave you a deadline of like a week ago, and it's still not fucking done.
So the reason it's so hard is because when we're just given a vague point, it's really easy to write. You can just flow. It flows quite nicely. As soon as we've got all the details of the lore, it's really hard because we've got to specifically work it into the lore.
Yeah, that's really important. You understand why we have to do that, though, right?
Yeah, I understand why it's important to have the lore, but it's really difficult to work. And I think I can now understand why it's so hard for the writers of the Star Wars movies now. Find it so damn hard to
Yeah, but
write
dude, it took us 2 weeks to do this. Like, it took us 2 hours in an afternoon to.
Yeah, but that wasn't to write.
No,
the
but
story.
it was to
that was
get
bullet
the outline of what was going on in the lore at the time of our story we were writing. That's what it did. It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. Like the lore is so, when you're writing stuff in films, it is so important to get the lore right. Like, for example, you really enjoy Halo the video game. You grew up on that shit, right? It's a story that means a lot to you. So what did you think of the TV show that didn't go by the lore that you grew up with?
It wasn't
very good, exactly. That's my point.
But I'm going to change something. I found out something really interesting, that it was supposed to be a Mass Effect show, and they lost the rights to Mass Effect and got Halo instead. And then if you change it to Mass Effect, the show is like really good. So I'm kind of irritated that happened.
But it still doesn't go with the lore of the thing they advertised for it, correct?
But I think this comes to me, and yeah, I do agree with you on that. But it comes to me that, I think I just want originality. I just want not to have new things, not to have to be attached to an IP to be successful. Go on, Joe.
I was just going to say, I do think that there is a point where, even though I side in the middle as usual, surprise, surprise, where obviously I would love for things to be as lore accurate as possible, but I do agree that if you make a show so pinpoint accurate to lore and so niche, it becomes uninteresting to the average viewer, which is I think where a lot of shows go wrong, because they take it far too disregard the lore. We want the brand name. We just want to hit the bullet points and usually hit them all wrong. But you need to strike that fine balance. But I feel like you can't wholeheartedly make a very specific show that threads the needle. Or you can do it. It's just very, very, very hard, and it's still entertaining and watchable by the average person.
Go on, Nick. You've had your hand up for a while.
Sorry.
So I'm with you. I'm open to things being rewritten. For example, until the Clone Wars TV show, there were 2 storylines of how the Death Star plans were basically stolen, and we've played one of them. One of them was Star Wars Battlefront 2, with with the prison break, and then they stole the plans from the Death Star itself as they escaped. And there was also, I can't remember what the video game was called, but there was a whole video game based around, in the 2000s, obviously, because that's when peak Star Wars gaming was. Like literally based around the nicking of the Death Star plans. So, and then Rogue One came along, and not only did it reveal like a new way of how Death Star plans were stolen, and let me say, top quality banter story, it's a brilliant story, but also it dealt with one of the biggest flaws of Star Wars, which is why did the Death Star have such a weak point if it was such an indestructible weapon? Like
I think, I mean, obviously sometimes you need to kind of overwrite previous things that have been stated, and I think there's something called Death of the Author, where basically the person who, like George Lucas, he's not dead, but like he's no longer associated with Star Wars, and I'm sure he's got some sway, but like, you know, he doesn't control what Disney does with it. So basically, they, no matter how close they try and follow it, they lose the vision of what Star Wars is to specifically George Lucas. So, you know, there's way, you know, you can't have a franchise spanning, God, how long has it been? 50?
70
years? 60 years?
When did they start making the film? 75, 76? Because it was released
so
in
about 60
77.
odd years. Let's say like 50 to 60 odd years, without getting something wrong, or having to like erase a previous element of your story.
Yeah. No, I get that. I do understand there has to be, like, Asajj Ventress again turning up in the Bad Batch. That was, sorry, spoiler alert if you've not seen it yet. Like, she was dead. She was dead. There was an arc in the cancelled series of the Clone Wars where she died. And there's a novel of that called Dark Disciple. Read it. It's spectacular. But it was part of canon until the Bad Batch. And I'm okay with that because it was done in a very respectful way to the source material. It was done in a very clever way in the which we still don't really know what happened. It's not been told. All that we know that she is there. So the story's not necessarily been changed about what went down in that arc, but maybe it just turned out slightly different. So I'm sort of with you, Joe. I do understand, like, stories do need to change to make them better. They need to evolve, basically. But at the same time, we cannot deny that The Last Jedi has not been. We cannot deny it's not been respectful to the source material that was already there.
Yeah,
and the same with Rise of Skywalker. I think the Force Awakens, it was all right. Like, it didn't do anything. It didn't do anything huge. It was based on some expanded universe material. Like, so for example, they, instead of Jason Solo, they had Kylo Ren. Like, there was based on some of the expanded universe, but then fucking fucked it.
I'd like to step in here. First of all, Star Wars was released. A New Hope was released on the 25th of May, 1977. So in 2 years, it'll be 50 years old. Congratulations, Star Wars, on that one.
So when did they start working on it, though? Was it 74, 75?
Oh, it's so I can find that in a second for you.
It's all right. You don't have to. It's fine.
Once I'll do it. But that's not my point. My point is, and I'm gonna come to what I know, because Star Wars I like, but I am a Trekkie, so I'm gonna go to Star Trek, and Star Trek is the older franchise. And the reason I'm bringing Star Trek, and this is not me saying Star Trek is better than Star Wars. I'm definitely not saying that. But what I am saying is Star Trek has what's called beta canon, whereas Star Wars has Legends. Star Trek has beta canon. Now, but what beta canon is it's the books, it's the video games, it's anything that's not a Star Wars TV show.
Star Trek TV show.
A Star Trek TV show. That is what beta canon is. So, like, I could really, really enjoy Star Trek Online, which is a game that I play. I'm quite well known in that community. That is beta canon in Star Trek lore. Like, something will happen in Star Trek Online, and I'll be like, oh, that's great, explains this. And then the TV show might do something different. And I'm like, oh, but I really, really enjoyed what they did in this. But Star Trek is really awesome because it tells you that. It says, no, this is beta canon. And then the game itself will change its story based on what happened in the show, which I find really interesting. Because it's a live service game, so it has the ability to do that sort of thing. Obviously, older Star Trek games go outdated based on different lore, but by having this separate beta canon works really well. But then there are times where the Star Trek shows will contradict themselves because it is Star Trek came out in the 60s. So there are times where things like, the Gorn in the 60s is a man in a rubber suit. And it looks like you watch it and it looks really, and he moves like this. But now we've got Strange New Worlds, which is the newest version of Star Trek, which is basically a sort of rehash of the original series, which fans are really loving. Some people don't like it, but I'm ignoring those people. But you've got a completely redesigned Gorn. They look more like the elites from Halo, which I think is really awesome.
Oh, that's weird.
But no, just they have an exosuit for space, which looks a bit like the. So think sort of Halo 4 elite space suit. Sort of that's what they wear.
Yeah.
And then when they finally take it off and it's revealed underneath, it's sort of similar to what we see in the early Star Trek, but with better CG.
Is your point basically it's okay to have not things that go with the actual canon and just have separate things?
My point is that you can have things that separate from canon, but not in the same way that you're going to step in and think. What I'm saying is, I think that, like, how much is Legends and how much is canon? If you had two separate canons, it would be fine. Like, there's canon thing. Having the Star Wars Legends. Star Wars Legends is huge, and you've got things like Chewie dying. You've got lots of things that people don't like. And it is so much content, in fact, that, and it's going to turn a little bit religious, but it's like the Bible in terms of contradictions, like what you just, we were talking we were doing the research about Queen Amidala and who became before her, and we were like, oh, it's a queen, but now you're telling me there's a king before. It's that level of contradiction within Star Wars lore itself. That's why Disney, and I'm not saying Disney should have thrown Legends out. That's not what I'm saying, but I do think that there is a slight sensibility to doing that. Like, Star Trek barely ever mentions things from its beta canon, but when it does, you get the fans going, woohoo!
Yeah.
But as Joe said earlier, like, you can't build a show on getting something lore accurate, because if you do that, I'm not going to be interested. I could make you a really lore accurate show about Ewoks, but I don't think you're going to watch it.
Well, no, but I think there's certain. Sorry, I don't know if you're done with that or not. I think there's way you can rewrite canon. You can do that, but you have to do it respectfully. That doesn't mean you rewrite the main content, aka all the Star Wars main content that is held in high regard now. So, I'm talking about stuff like The Mandalorian, the prequels, the original trilogy, the Clone Wars. That stuff and Rogue One and Solo, I guess. I like Solo. That wasn't me shrugging off Solo. I do like it. But there's those things anything that does well in the future has to be kind of accurate to those things, because they are not only well received, but they're extremely well written.
But I'm gonna stop you there, Nick, because we have people commenting on videos all the time saying they hate prequels, they hate Mando. The Star Wars fan base itself is
very diverse,
divided on so many things. So how do you appeal to a fan base that half the fans are like, why is there a woman Jedi? And the other half of the fans are like, there's not enough women Jedi. And then there's one fan saying, I just want to see explosions. And there's one fan saying, this writing wasn't complex enough. And another person saying, I want to see them kill each other. And another person saying, no, you can't kill off main characters.
I'm going to turn to my boy Sam Witwer. He did this.
Okay, go on.
He explained this in a very, very good way. In the way that you've got to trust the people who know what they're talking about and know how to do that. and the people who are writing the sequels were not people who were capable of doing that. For example, Rian Johnson didn't know what he was working with, and Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams just let him do his thing. Rise of Skywalker is a different story because that's just a byproduct of The Last Jedi, in my opinion. But then you've got people like Sam Witwer. I know he's a very controversial topic between the three of us, but Star Wars Theory. You've got Dave Filoni. You've got Jon Favreau. You've got these people who are available for Star Wars to talk to, and also who know their shit about Star Wars. And Dave Filoni has rewritten Star Wars himself. He rewrote the clones having chips in their heads. He knows how to do some stuff that makes sense and also rewrite source material, make it a good story, but also treat the source material with respect if it's getting changed. There is a fine line there. There's doing it respectfully and there's doing it disrespectfully. Like, no matter what you say, I know there are some people who have commented on our videos as saying the clones having chips in their heads as...
They didn't like chips
in their head.
Like, I was like, how do you make it...
What? It isn't...
How do you make people happy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't. The sad thing is you're always going to upset someone doing anything. Any kind of story you make is not going to... There's going to be at least a section of the community that is not going to like it.
I think you have... Yes, you can't please everyone, but if you've got a lot of people saying the same thing about something that you've done, that's when you kind of got to take notice of it. If this is like one or two people saying, oh, this doesn't work because of this, and it not catching on, then that's fine. But for example, The Last Jedi was so divisive that you've got to be like, oh, we've done something wrong here.
I know, but that's the problem, Nick. It was so divisive. I mean,
that's my point. That's my point, James.
You've already stolen one of my points. I'm stealing your point. Okay, but I'm going to expand on your point. I'm stealing it, but I'm going to add something to it. Okay, which was, and now I can't remember what it was. Fuck you. What was I saying? Oh, fuck. What was the last thing I said before Nick said?
That's why it was divisive, or something.
Yeah, that's sorry. That's why it was divisive. And after it was divisive, Disney panicked. It's why Solo failed, which we've talked about it being a good film, and it flopped at the box office, which we all agree it shouldn't have happened because it's not a bad film. But it was following on from Last Jedi. And then you had the panic of Rise of Skywalker, which, as we've discussed, is basically just retconning Last Jedi. But some people say they should have doubled down and continued, like we should have seen something different, something come out of the negatives of Last Jedi. Like I said, when I first saw Last Jedi, I really liked it, but then I watched all the videos and I was like, they pointed out all the plot holes and I hated it. And it was just like, I saw that film 3 times in the cinema because, I was on tour and I had nothing better to do. So it's sort of like, how do you write a good Star Wars? Like, and you can have loads of people like Star Wars Theory writing stuff, Dave Filoni. You got so many Dave Filoni haters out there.
What?
It just gets...
There are people who don't like...
There's people like...
I have never ever seen someone who hates that man. I have never... Have you not?
I've seen so many... I've seen so many comments. I've seen so many comments of people saying they don't like... Yeah, I don't know if it's on our stuff, but I've seen loads of comments like, oh, I don't like what Dave Filoni did.
I think you're referring to The Mandalorian Season 3. I will agree that The Mandalorian Season 3 is weaker than the other 2 seasons. However, I don't think it's bad. I think it's got some silly moments in there that maybe go a little bit too far with the silliness. But at the same time, you can't have Star Wars without silliness. That's my point. That's one of the things that makes Star Wars better than other sci-fi is the silliness and the kind of humanization of it. But yeah, but
then you've got the problem like that. Mandalorian is Disney Star Wars. Yes, it was Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni together. But that was, again, it was after Last Jedi it came out. So that was post Last Jedi.
The whole of The Mandalorian was post Last Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sort of losing the plot.
Yes,
but what I'm saying is that loads of people say I hate Disney Star Wars, I hate Disney Star Wars. They've changed, they've retconned stuff, but then they do make some good shit.
They do, but that's because of the people who are in charge of that shit. So for example, when because you've seen the footage of George Lucas sitting on the production of The Mandalorian, right? You've seen that.
I have not.
Yeah,
no, I've not.
Dave Filoni was in talks with George Lucas throughout the entirety of this. You see, who was the voice of Kanan? Who's the guy who was Fred in Scooby-Doo? What's his name? Someone tell me. He voice acted Kanan.
Wait, is it? Oh, is it like from the live action Scooby-Doo movies?
Or is he's Fred in the live action Scooby-Doo movies.
Is he Kanan?
Oh, the live action. I actually might know this. Oh shit.
He is He is Kanan Jarrus. He is the voice of Kanan Jarrus.
I've got his face in my head.
He is,
regardless
of who his name is, it escapes me. Someone look it up while I'm explaining this. He is a huge Star Wars fan and a huge nerd. He loves it, and he worked for 4 years on Rebels. So he was in direct talks with Dave Filoni, and was basically trained on the Star Wars lore by Dave Filoni, who was then taught by George Lucas. So anything that he says, fuck you if you disagree, because he learned everything from the guy who learned from George Lucas about George Lucas's world, about how the Force works and all of that. I've forgotten what my point is here, but like, you can retcon things, you can rewrite things, but if you're not doing it with the right people, with the people who know what they're talking about, and who don't just want to take this random idea and do their own thing with it, that will be canon in the entire thing. Like it. It will have you invite the entire fan base to disagree with you.
But then you have. Sorry, Joe.
I was just going to say. I mean, we should probably look to moving on to our next topic. But one last thing I would say is, even though Nick, you are very keen on, presenting us as like being a legit lore source, I feel like sometimes. I feel like you got to just disregard lore and just be like, we're having fun. Like, we're allowed to, even if it's something that would never happen in the Star Wars universe, like, as long as, maybe if we, like, were to clarify initially, just be like, look, this is for fun. This, we're not insinuating this would ever happen, but if it did, this is how it would go.
I think I agree with Joe there, but one thing I will say is that the prequels, when they first came out, were received very, very badly. Although we loved them, we were kids when we watched them. Which means the nostalgia built it, and the shows built, like Clone Wars, built on that. But those a lot of the comics that were in Legends before the prequels came out, that wrote, they weren't written by George Lucas. They were written by fans. Some of the lore that was created in these comic books what was imagined by these people. It wasn't imagined by George Lucas.
Yeah, it was imagined by people who know George Lucas as well, because George Lucas at the time was the manager director of Star Wars. Anything that would have been released he would have chosen people he trusted. That's what I mean. That's why he brought on Dave Filoni. I feel like I'm missing my point. I am open to things being rewritten. That's what I think what ifs are good for. But it changes one thing about that universe. It doesn't change everything, and you can't create new characters for your idea to work. You've got, especially if we're writing a fan theory, for example, we need to make sure that we're just changing that one thing, and everything else from the lore is kind of used to progress that one thing. That's my point. It's like, oh, well, what do we change? We changed this thing. Okay, what if Padme was changed? That wasn't in canon. No, of course it wasn't. But we're changing it, and we're making it fit the thing that everyone is familiar with and everyone knows. Like, for example, in our lore, spoiler alert, Yaddle becomes Padme's master. Why? Because Yaddle has a special interest in legal matters, which is what Padme's whole kind of route would go down. Like in canon, we're still kind of have the same personality. It's those kind of things that are my point for when we're writing this stuff for what ifs. We need to think logically about it. We need to think how would this work, etc., etc. Sorry. Anyway, yes, I think we should.
Anyway, we should go on to the next topic. Also, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's who you're looking for. Yeah,
and he's married to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So.
AKA Daphne from the live action Scooby-Doo's.
Yeah. Have you seen the cut scene of the Scooby-Doo film where Daphne's in a bikini and stuff?
No, I haven't seen that.
No, I'll link it to you.
Okay. Just Joe being a perv.
Well, we need to get a woman on this show.
Right, okay. This next thing is going to be purely just for our own benefit because, as Joe said, this is just for fun. We're just going to... If 1 or 2 people like these videos, we're happy with that. This is just for us, really.
Yeah.
These are our personalities in fictional characters.
So we're going to go first for you?
So
yeah,
we don't know... None of us know the characters that the other 2 have chosen for us. That's the thing. We don't know who we are yet. So I'm going to go first, and we got Joe's, and we got James's. Yeah.
No, I thought it was me and you... me and Joe telling us what we think.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Nick's going to go first.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we had a discussion. I said you remind me of the Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Not seen it.
Which I found very funny, by the way.
I've not seen it. I can't.
Oh, really?
And Joe thought you were SpongeBob.
Why?
Wait, so let's give us a reason. So you go for what your reason for the Brain was.
So the reason I went for the Brain is that Nick, is the ideas man on our team. Like, he comes up with all the ideas for things, but when we don't do something for him, he gets really annoyed at us. Just like, what are we gonna do today, Brain? Same as every day, Pinky. Try to take
Make a podcast.
Make a podcast.
Yeah, that's accurate.
So that was my reasoning. What was your reasoning for SpongeBob, Joe?
My motivation or my reasoning for SpongeBob is the fact that he's upbeat, quite energetic, quite talented at what he does, like making burgers. I guess for Nick, it's playing music.
Thank you.
But also he can be very annoying. Also with SpongeBob, the high points are high when he's happy, he's very happy. When the low points, he's when they do those graphic detailed arts of being the low points are very low.
That thumbs me up.
That's
there is no mid. I'm either hugely up here or I'm just don't fucking talk to me. I will punch you.
But James was right. I don't think either of those particularly capture exactly who you are, and I can't actually think of someone who does that. But James also recommended Sokka from Avatar.
Yes, I did. I reckon because in Avatar: Last Airbender, Sokka's he doesn't have any powers out of the team. He's just the human warrior.
Thank you.
He's quite playful. He's quite but he's quite playful. But at the start of the show, he's very mature. He's the sort of big brother of the situation, but as the show goes on, he becomes more light-hearted and he's quite funny. But he still has moments of being quite serious and sort of taking lead. So that's why I sort of saw you as
that's actually very nice.
What would you say for yourself? What would you give you?
Honestly,
yeah, good point.
My personality has been so vastly different in the past 10 years since being an adult, because I'm 28 now. Fucking hell. That it's just changed so much depending on my life experiences, and I think that's the most important thing about your 20s is that you do change. So I genuinely don't know. It's just I like to think of myself as, even if it's just a little bit, starting to mellow out and just caring about what I'm doing rather than trying to be about everything, which I know I still am, but I feel like I'm better at it now. I remember when I was 18, I wouldn't hear people out. It was my way or the highway. And I think Luna Blue actually taught me a lot about being different and just hearing people out and hearing other people's ideas. So, yeah.
Wait, Nick, I got it. You're a Bridge series Kirito.
No, he actually wants people to die.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the end when he's saving stuff and he's he's got his friend.
When he's doing the monologue of I really hate people. Yeah, I mean, what have they achieved?
War, global war.
I've tried to show Joe that, and I think I tried to show him again the last 6 months, and his comment was, "Why are we watching this? It's very James."
Wait, what? No, did I say
Something
that?
along those lines. I probably told me not to repeat that, but there we go.
I might have said this is very Nick, maybe. I don't know.
Actually, which is basically the
is
same.
that the one? Is that the one where he's just like, "I'm at soup"?
What?
Yeah,
What?
you know, it's like a meme video where it's just like, "All right, hey, where are you? I'm at soup." What do you mean you're at soup? Do you know what? Okay, no,
it's
never
not
mind,
that
ignore me.
No, that was
Okay.
No, that was the Sword Art Online abridged series, so it was an anime parody thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So
Now it's time for Joe.
we do. Oh god, I got to remind myself because you had one and I had an. Oh yes, it was another character from Avatar, but I also had it combined with like what you've done for me. I've had it combined with another one, and I think this is really accurate for Joe. Do you want to go with your one first?
So, yeah, I'll do mine first. So I said Uncle Iroh from Avatar because you're super chill. You're sort of quite, you know, you never let anything sort of, if it does concern you, you don't sort of say it. You just sort of, you know, you sort of you internalize it, and I can imagine you sort of sipping your cup of tea, and just sort of, you know, the meme of the
Yeah.
I
feel like Uncle Iroh kind of knows his worth, though, if that makes sense. He's very aware of his worth, and that's one thing I don't think is accurate to you, Joe, because I don't think you know how good you are at what you do.
Oh, yeah, I was scared for a second. Oh, God.
Come back.
Oh, no, he's back, he's back. Oh.
Was I gone?
Or
He's
is he?
frozen.
You're just frozen.
Okay, you guys are fine,
you're
and
back,
it's still
you're back.
recording on mine, so
You
I'm all
need to
good.
let it go, Nick.
Basically, so I was going to say that, but combined with Samwise Gamgee, because because Samwise is like he's a lovely guy. He is the easiest to get on with out of that
Frodo's
entire.
slave.
No, he just cares.
His best friend.
He just cares. He's kind of mellow, and he also doesn't realize how important he is. That's why I think it would be that aspect of Samwise with everything else as with Uncle Iroh. I think it would.
You're Sam from the books.
Yeah, you are this incredibly important person to a.
Sam from the books is a slave.
No, he's a gardener. I think you're that side of things where you don't realize your worth to the people that are in your life. That's basically what our take with it was.
Stop saying nice things. I can't handle this. This is
So now you got to go to the interview for that ITV job, I think.
Yeah, we'll do when the LinkedIn application boots up.
Nice. Okay, so.
But yeah, thank you. That was very nice.
That's it. Now, James.
Oh, wait. Before you move on, Joe, who do you think you are?
Well, I was saying to Nick earlier that at work, a few people have like referred to me as Eeyore.
My counteraction with that is if you are depressed, you hide it very well.
You're not depressed. If you are, you're definitely not Eeyore depressed. You're sweet, but you're not Eeyore depressed.
At least with the Uncle Iroh and Eeyore, like if I am, I'm keeping it in there and just
and Samwise
hiding it while screaming inside.
Yoda death sound.
That's your video game death sound, isn't it? Just right. Okay. Should we do this next one? Now, James. For James, you're either going to take this one really well or not very well at all.
I'm not familiar with this character.
No,
I don't actually.
I mean this one with love. And I asked you about this TV show earlier last week just to check you knew the character. Joe didn't. So I think you're Fish Legs from How to Train Your Dragon
Amazing Gumball.
and Dragon's Race of the Edge.
Fish Legs.
I think.
Oh, do you mean he's got
the Gronkle? He's got
Fish Legs.
He's got the Gronkle.
Yeah,
the Gronkle dragon.
Oh, Fish Legs is so cute. I love.
Just because he's an overly cringy character in a good way. and he says a lot of very cringe things, but his heart is always in the right place, and he's really nerdy.
I will take fish legs. I will wear fish legs because he is a very sweet character.
Very, very sweet character.
And he's a nerd, but he also has a heart. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you fish legs. Joe, did you have a character you think I am?
No, that was it. I think that was it.
I did.
What's that?
We were just like, I just said to Joe, I was like,
I will take fish legs.
In fact, this was my whole inspiration for doing this segment, because I've been watching the Dragon's Race to the Edge again recently, and I was like, oh my god, fish legs is James.
To be fair, I think my mum said fish legs was me.
Honestly, it is uncanny. If you have not seen How to Train Your Dragon, I assume you have, but if you haven't seen Dragon's Race to the Edge, which is on Netflix, it's the character fish. It delves into each of those characters really, really well. There are some episodes where Hiccup is very much a side character, and that it very much delves into the other characters in that group of kids. And Fishlegs is one of these characters, and he gets a lot of screen time. And I'm just watching it and just like, oh my god, it's James. So
I did have a think, and I just couldn't draw anything up because like no one is James. James is very unique. He's like one of a kind, really.
He's Fishlegs.
Wow, apart from Fishlegs, yeah.
But I feel like, fish legs has a dragon. Like, who doesn't want a dragon? I mean, a Meatlug is like a cat as a dragon. Like,
I don't know if it's a cat.
Not as much as
he's a little bit too friendly to be a cat.
More like a dog. No, I feel like Toothless is the cat, and Meatlug is like a big fat dog. Like just rub my belly now.
And he's like, oh, okay, girl, here you go, girl. You want some fish? Go there, you go, girl. And it's, to be fair, how you treat Sarah.
Oh yeah, so Sarah's
yeah,
Meatlug.
there you go.
I'll
Meatlug, not Heather.
You said that.
Do you remember Heather from that show? Because she's not in the
Heather's
films. She's
no.
Fishlegs' little
like
spice.
I thought you were talking about another woman in James's life or something for a second.
No, we're saying Sarah would have been Heather, but maybe more Meatlug.
Well, I guess if we want to do the last segment, we should do it now because Nick's probably got 3 minutes.
Yeah, running out of time. But for the record, I think I'm Boiler from Lower Decks.
You think you're Boiler from Lower Decks? Okay,
Boimler. Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of see why you'd say that.
Well, describe Boimler to me. Describe Boimler to me.
Okay, he's very nerdy, but he sometimes lacks real world experience. But sometimes, like in like random moments, he'll just be like completely calm and be like, "Oh yes, it's totally fine," and then be like really panicked about like some social situation and be like, "I'm sorry." So that's why I feel like I am Boimler. I am. But yes, that is who I think I am. Right,
Joe. This is the last segment. How are we?
Yeah, good. I think. Yeah, doing fine. We went to a gig, which was fun. It was only £5. The day planned out like just so happened to pan out like perfectly. And then we had a nice little pub quiz after.
It was great. We had pub quiz. We did terrible at the pub quiz. I'm terrible at.
Oh, we came third out of I think 5.
I'm
maybe.
Terrible at them.
Like,
I gave no help whatsoever. I was not very good at them.
No, you tried. You tried and you had alcohol.
It was great.
Fine.
I had a good time. I uploaded a few stories of me and Joe going.
Oh yeah.
So that's where that meme comes from. Okay, cool.
Well, no, we've been doing that for a while. I think I uploaded my first story to my own profile at least. Of just that. And back in like 2022 or something like that, we did a day down in Brighton, and when we were in the bus, I was just like, hey Joe, and we went do 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 do, and just uploaded it on the story. It's just a film.
Oh dear.
How about you, James? Have you been up to anything?
My brother has started a business because obviously he's really, really big in the tech world. But because of that fact, he ends up with a load of random broken bits of computer and things like that, which he gets asked to dispose of. So instead of throwing it away, he started a refurbishment business to not waste stuff. So he started getting these items and he's repairing them, and he started his own little
what is that company called, for a little shout out?
A little shout out for a company. I think it was called Inspire Computing.
Okay, so he's selling computer stuff and fixing it from stuff That would have been chucked
fixing
out
it from
anyway,
stuff that-
just online.
chucked out. So yeah, just online, because some of the stuff is like just slightly old and it's just slightly outdated.
Yeah.
For example, I've listed like 8 telephones with like webcam telephones. That seemed like really cool idea.
Oh, that's cool.
But they're just not used anymore. So there was no refurb needed. They were just sort of like, we could have new telephones. We have mobile phones. We don't need these anymore. Off they go. So yeah, it's just recycling really, which is
That
quite
is
cool.
cool. That's nice. Yeah.
Which just means that I'm in a situation where at least I have that. But my brother was being nice, which is also throwing me on the bus a little bit at the same time, because
Brothers
I
being
told him
nice
that
to
my,
you? What?
So this is what happened. I went to Weymouth for the weekend, which you know, that was really nice to see my family. We had a Christmas in February,
Amazing.
which is very lovely.
Nice.
And then unfortunately my laptop broke while I was there.
Fabulous.
The whole thing, it just, which you guys knew it was on the way out anyway.
Yeah.
But it finally met its laptop end.
What happened?
And I was doing my Star Trek daily upstairs, and then the screen went all pixelated, which it's done before. And the fix for that is just turn it off and on again. But I did that a few times, it didn't work, so I took it down to my brother, and he was like, he did a few beep boops, and the graphics card was completely gone. So he put it on a setting, which meant that it could still run Word, and which was fine. So I was like, okay, I can't play games, so I can do Word. And then he was like, I really want to play games, so he put the graphics card back on, and then the whole thing went black.
Oh dear.
And that was the end. Because he felt guilty about that, he then went straight to eBay and ordered me a brand new, a used laptop for £500.
Still,
And I was like,
£500.
Josh,
That's more than...
why are you doing that? And I was like, and it's like, you can just pay me back, can't you? So all the money that I'm earning with him is now going back to him for this laptop that I didn't want because I have a computer, and it was really nice of him to do that. But now I've literally done like 4 days of work for him at £15 an hour and still haven't paid him back the
Bloody
laptop.
hell.
So
Mad.
So yeah,
this is entrapment.
me.
He's like
He's part of the
entrapped you in
CIS.
servitude. Yeah.
Right.
But yes, that is me.
Nick, hit your do it quickly.
How am I?
so
Oh,
keep you
God, we
too
don't
long.
have time for this. How am I? I'm okay. I'm working myself silly. I actually had a time management meeting with my mum yesterday because I was like, Mum, I'm doing all this stuff. I need help, please. So I've got like 4 things going on. I released my first meditation music song, which is scheduled to release this week on YouTube.
Nice.
So
Go watch it.
that is...
Go listen
Nick,
to
what's the
it.
name of your
Go-
channel? Shout out.
Go relax.
That is
Go meditate.
City and Candlelight, the YouTube name. I'm going to make an Instagram and a Spotify for it if the YouTube does anything. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'm just testing out on one.
Make a Spotify for it anyway. Why
Yeah,
not?
it's true. It's money.
Do
It's
it.
money for releases
Do
on
it.
Spotify. YouTube, you can release stuff for free. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'll hopefully get on that. But yes, that's how I'm doing at the moment. Just writing a lot of music. I'm doing a lot. Yeah, I'm doing a lot. I'm doing lots of lightsaber spinning outside and practicing my spins in the evenings, which is good
Nice.
fun. I've got to teach in 6 minutes. You
Yeah.
can cut that bit.
Let's wrap
okay,
up.
yes. So
James, do you want to
I'll
take us out?
take us out.
I'll do the
It's
outro.
covered in yellow, which means it's me. I got the colour key
I
at the top.
suggested it.
Go.
I suggested it just because he did the intro.
Okay, sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. We are It Starts With Star Wars, and we recently hit 500
We did it! It's
subscribers
amazing!
on YouTube.
100 subs on YouTube. Thank you.
And almost 1,700 followers on TikTok. Our Twitch and Instagram will definitely benefit from some support. So if you'd like to go follow us on Twitch and Instagram, please do. It Starts With Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Let us know in the comments what you would like us to cover next. Have a great time. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Live long and prosper.
Why would you end a Star Wars podcast with that?